I'm so excited to have on the podcast today Ar'Jillian Gilmer, who is the founder of Gilmer Learning Solutions, a tutoring company and microschool located in Little Rock, Arkansas. I had the chance to meet Ar'Jillian in person recently and be on a panel discussion with her in Little Rock about all of the exciting education, innovation, and expansion of choice that's occurring there. And I'm thrilled to have Ar'Jillian on the podcast today to talk about her journey from public school teacher for nearly a decade in Arkansas to school founder. So, Ar'Jillian Gilmer, welcome to the LiberatED podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invitation, Kerry. It was great to meet you at Student Focused Teacher Led, and I'm excited that we were able to extend that meet and greet essentially to another full conversation.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's so many exciting things happening in Arkansas, especially with the passage of universal school choice policies now being extended into micro schools and other innovative programs beyond sort of conventional public schools and private schools. There's now so many more options for families and funding to follow those options. So just a really exciting time in Arkansas. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about your journey, Ar'Jillian, because you started off as a public school teacher in Little Rock and in North Little Rock, and then ultimately became an education entrepreneur. But what made you decide to go into teaching in the first place?
So, actually, Kerry, I never wanted to be a teacher. I thought that I was going to be this great family lawyer. I experienced a few of my own ACEs. For anybody who's listening and they don't know, adverse childhood experiences. And because of those, I wanted to be an advocate for children. And I thought that if I worked in family law, I can help so many kids. Well, that's not the route that I took. I actually worked in banking. I was good at that, but I wasn't fulfilled. So I went into property management. I was good at that, but I wasn't fulfilled. And finally, I just decided, let me pray about what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, actually. Um, and one day, working volunteering in children's church, there was a little boy who was very upset. And I don't know how to this day, but I was able to get him to calm down and relax and want to be in there with us. And in that interaction, I knew that that was the answer to the prayer that I had been praying, that it was kids who I was supposed to be working with. And in that capacity, I was teaching. And so that began my journey into education.
So then what happened next? Did you go to school to get a license or how did you move from that experience to, okay, this is going to be my career now for the next almost 10 years?
I didn't immediately follow it. I actually went into property management instead. And still I'm very faith-based. So still I knew that that's not where I was supposed to be. And so eventually I told my husband, this was after we had gotten married, hey, I'm gonna quit this job and I'm gonna take a huge pay cut and I'm gonna be an assistant for. So he's like, if you're sure this is what God's telling you to do. So I took the scenic route. I did not immediately go from high school and finish 4 years of college. I did two, took a long break, had kids, marriage and all that stuff. Went to college, and then I went from assistant to classroom teacher, worked in special services somewhere along the way. And that is how I ended up as a classroom teacher.
And what was that experience like for you as a classroom teacher in the public schools? What were some of the things you enjoyed about that experience and maybe some of the challenges?
What I enjoyed most about being a classroom teacher was having students who knew that I cared about them as a student, like as a whole person, not just their grades first and foremost, because the saying goes that a student will learn for you before they learn from you. And it really is true. And so I really thoroughly enjoyed just knowing that these kids knew that I was there for them and I had their backs. As long as they were in the right, I was going to have their backs. And if they were wrong, we would figure out how to make it right. But just knowing that they knew they had my support, that was the most fulfilling thing for me, honestly.
And what about challenges or any difficulties, things that maybe didn't go as you had hoped with the public school experience?
Well, starting out, I was in alternative learning environment, and those
Mm.
students are the ones here in our area, and for that district in particular, they're on their last trial before being put out of school, out of that public school district. And so every day really did present a new behavioral obstacle. Working with children to push past, an ED diagnosis or an ODD diagnosis, that oppositional defiant or emotional disturbance, this does not have to stop you from making progress and growing. And so it was very challenging on that end. But the reward, it far surpassed the challenging days that I had.
So then what made you start to think, gee, I think I want to become an education entrepreneur, maybe do something a little bit different than classroom teaching? What was the sort of origin story on your entrepreneurship journey?
When I became an education entrepreneur or an edpreneur, it was because I had been running Gilmer's Learning Solutions, tutoring myself for the first year with about 5 clients. The second year, I hired somebody on and we grew to about 18 clients and contracts with Pulaski County government. And so I couldn't handle it by myself. I was in meetings during my prep period. I don't work for anybody now, so I can say this. I was in meetings during my prep periods, meeting with people from the city of Little Rock and Pulaski County government. And I knew that I needed to step away when the very people who worked for our central office were in those same meetings because they were trying to get opportunities for the district as well. And so I said, it might be smart.
Yeah, so it was sort of an organic process then, Ar'Jillian, is how it sounds that you were continuing to work as a classroom teacher and then started doing some tutoring, and then realized that you wanted to make that more official, leave the district, and really run the tutoring company full time. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it was. It worked for as long as it could work for
Yeah.
me to work for the district, full time and come in and do sessions in the evening. I'm very big on family, so I wanted to make sure that I was not working all day and then coming home and working all evening and not spending time with my husband and my children. And so it was pretty organic. There was nothing that I had to make work. It all just happened the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah, sort of the tutoring became a natural extension of your classroom teaching, and then it became clear that you wanted to do that full time as an entrepreneur. And you started, if I recall, back in 2020, in again more of this organic fashion, but then ultimately launched the tutoring program and then the micro school full time. When you, I guess, how do I phrase this? At what point did you decide that you wanted to create a micro school to complement the tutoring?
Um, I started toying with micro school. It's 2024, so probably late 2022, early 2023. I actually had a ruptured brain aneurysm in January of 2023, and it landed me in neuro ICU for several weeks. And I remember by the time I was finished having brain surgeries because I had to have multiple. Um, we were getting ready for a trip in June. And I said, you know what? Let me print out this 7 steps to open a micro school. I'm going to take it seriously because I had actually kind of fielded that idea of giving homeschool assistance in 2022, but I didn't get many responses. Nobody was really biting on that then. But 2023, I said, I mean, let's just try it. I feel like this is where the Lord is leading me next. So let's just fill out these 7 steps, do my research, apply to a fellowship, and let's see what happens.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that your brain surgery went well. It must have been a scary time for you. What attracted you to the microschool model?
Well, I've always said that our education system really needs to be multiple systems that really work for students. And I'm not an opponent to public school. I am a proponent for whatever educational avenue is going to work for the child. And because I started in alternative learning environment, and I knew that there were some kids who just did not fare well in a class size of 25 plus kids. I experienced kids who would say, I know I've been on good behavior for the whole 9 weeks. I know I'm supposed to go into a regular classroom now, but I'm not going to make it. I'm only going to go one day. I'm going to come right back because they just did not thrive in that environment. And so, because family is huge to me, because there are families whose dynamic are not like mine. They may not be 2 parent households. They may not have, access to funding the way that my family does. Why not assist those families in centering their children's education around their family? And I can do that through micro schooling. They can prioritize family and micro schooling. They can prioritize the need that their kid has with these small sizes, with personalized education, non-traditional, out the box, however works best for them. If I can offer that, why not?
Yeah, and Arkansas is really an interesting state in that it passed universal school choice, and in its initial year of kind of rolling out its education freedom accounts, it was focused just on kind of traditional private schools. But in the next year, or in its second year of implementation, micro schools and other sorts of homeschooling collaboratives are included in the policy. Did that influence your decision to create a micro school because of the financial accessibility? Or were these sort of separate paths for you?
Those were actually separate paths. When I opened up that Google sheet and started plugging in goals and our values and mission and vision, my state had not yet fully adopted EFA. So it really was a leap of faith that either, honestly, I just believe that the families who really needed my services the most would come. We would work on payment, the best that we could, but I was going to do it anyway. And so it was a sweet relief when our state finally adopted EFA. And I knew that I wouldn't have a problem being accepted. But even before that, I just decided I was going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, school choice policies can make it easier for education entrepreneurs. They can certainly make these programs more accessible to more families, but it's not required. And there's plenty of states where there are no school choice policies, where there are numerous microschool founders and more coming on every day. So it was great to hear that that was sort of your path too, that you felt compelled to create this sort of learning solution for your community and saw demand for that with or without the EFAs. But now, of course, the EFA makes this so much more financially feasible for families to be able to participate. So you launched the microschool this fall, is that right? Yeah. Tell us
Yes.
about the microschool specifically. Who are you serving? How many students? What is the focus of your program?
Our micro school is Christian Micro Schooling by Gilmer's Learning Solutions. It's a long name, but we've won several awards and been known in our community as Gilmer's Learning Solutions. So I didn't want to just, create something completely new and then people not know who we are. I wanted people to know that, hey, we're the same business who has been bringing you personalized academic support. We're the same business who's been helping your kids make gains for the last 3.5 years. This is us. This is just another extension of us. And so, Christian Microschooling by Gilmer's Learning Solutions, or CMGLS, as we call it, we opened in the fall. In the summer, we had one family to show up for our first interest meeting, and we got plenty of inquiries through email, social media, but one family showed up and they were adamant about it's gonna work. We're not upset or scared or nervous that we're the only ones here. It's gonna work. And so they stuck with me the whole way. My goal was 7 out of a max of 10. And we started the year with 8 families. And then a ninth student came on almost a month into the school year, which there's a really crazy story about student number 9, about how he ended up with me. But that's how our school year started this fall. For the first time ever, 3 days a week, these 9 students come to us for 5 hours of academic instruction. We go out and work in the community, exploring what we would typically do as a field trip in May for students. We just take one day each month to go out and learn in the community, because our community stakeholders are integral to our education systems. And so we want our kids to see what it's like to be in the real world. You might want to work for Arkansas Nature Center. So let's go and see what they do. Let's put that with our science unit. We have some really cool things going on. But we get those kids 3 days a week. Their parents are entrusting them to us, to meet them where they are and to bring them up. And it's been a wonderful experience. I have a co-teacher. She loves working with all of our kids. Honestly, we're ranging from K-5, which wasn't our intent for this year. We actually only intended to do K-3, but we had 3 fifth-grade families who wanted to come. So what do you do if you have 3? I mean, you bring them on. And so it's been a journey. It's been interesting to say the least, but it's been enjoyable. Um, Being the micro school founder doesn't it doesn't make the job pretty, or I'm just another teacher slash principal. We all get in there and our families help. We've become a family, honestly. And it wasn't, I didn't expect that it could be as great as this, but people were looking for Christian infused values. They're looking for collaboration. They're looking for community. They're looking for innovation. And we offer those things on a daily basis.
I love that. Yeah, that was going to be my next question for you is what is attracting families to your micro school? And you've talked about that, kind of Christian focused, individualized, collaborative. family centered. Are the families that the 9 students that have come to you so far, are they students who were previously homeschooling? Were they in a conventional public or private school? I guess what environments are they coming from that's really attracting them to you?
I have two students who were previously micro schooled, one out of Nevada, one out of Atlanta. They were previously micro schooled, so their parents were looking for another option like that here in Little Rock. They tried the public school setting and it didn't work for their kids because they were used to micro school. Um, I have two kids who came from private, which runs pretty much like traditional, but they two who came from private, and the others either they are in kindergarten, so this is their first time in school, or public school. So there's a mix. There's really a mix. Most of them have had some public school experience, but their families know that micro school is what's going to work best. So they arrange their schedules, they work together for drop off, pickup, in order for their kids to be able to come here and have this shared experience with our micro school family.
Just so great. And so, you have these 9 students now. Are you operating in a leased commercial space or is it a home-based micro school? What's it looking like logistically?
I am operating in a leased commercial space. Um, we initially moved to this space because our tutoring business was growing so much and we just needed more spaces to run simultaneous tutoring sessions. But it has worked out for our micro school a little bit. We're currently actually about to move within the same building to a larger space. We're taking on 2 units, next door to each other so that we can have even more space because right now everybody is elbow to elbow, even in it's double what we had at first, but now it's too small. So eventually, probably the next 3 to 5 years, we look to build our own space. My family actually has several businesses, so we look to build a space where we can operate all of the Gilmer family businesses out of one location.
Oh, wow. Oh, what a great idea. A true family entrepreneurial hub, right, of all of your activities, which it sounds just fantastic. I'd love to hear about the sort of the complementary way that you run the micro school and the tutoring business, because I imagine that some of my listeners and viewers might think that this is a great way to sort of diversify services and offer different things to different families, right? So that you're running the micro school kind of during school hours, and then the tutoring maybe is more after school evenings. And so it seems like it could be a great match. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then maybe what advice would you have for other prospective founders thinking about doing that kind of similar model?
So the way we work it is, of course, micro school operates during regular school hours. Tutoring happens after school and weekends, typically no sooner than an hour after we're finished with micro school, so that we can, clean up our mess, get out of the way, and all that good stuff. As far as operating both, it is a great way to diversify your income. But I wouldn't say to do it just to diversify your income. I would only suggest do it if that's what you really have a heart to do, because it takes a lot out of you as a founder. I went from taking tutoring clients 3 to 4 days a week to now I'm only able to take one client 1 day a week myself. I did have to hire another certified teacher to work the tutoring side and to lead that side for me. So that comes with a greater financial responsibility, but it is quite difficult to effectively run both sides as one person. And I am actually a fellow in the Arizona State University Micro School Founder Fellowship. And there are other people in that fellowship who do the same thing that I do. They started as a tutoring business and expanded into micro school. So it can work. It really can. We just have to know our limits, and we have to know when we need to ask for help, when we need to make the investment of bringing somebody else on. And it has to make sense until it has to run off of faith.
Yeah, excellent advice. Maybe, don't take on too much as a founder because you might sort of wear yourself thin and then it can be difficult. So really appreciate those insights. Tell us a bit more about the future of the micro school. I know you said that you didn't want to get too big this year. You're already near capacity, but it seems like there's quite a bit of demand for the sort of personalized, part-time micro school option, a much more individualized education approach. Where do you see the micro school model going for you?
So it was always the plan to launch in 3 phases. The first phase was supposed to be K through 3, and then up to fifth, and then 6 through 8. We're already in K through 5, even though that wasn't the plan. But for next school year, we will expand to offer K through 6. And we do want to keep it micro. I know that, there is some conjecture about what really is micro and what's not. The largest number I've heard, you can have about 100 kids and it's still micro. I don't see that for us. I envision us having 5 students per grade group. And so next year, when we go K through 6, in that K through 1 group, there will be 5. In the 2 through 3 group or 2 through 4, there'll be 5. And then when we hit 5 through 8, in that area 5, no more than 20 students max if I push it, simply because I don't want to lose focus of the individualized, the personalized approach that we're supposed to be able to have with micro school. We can increase the number of students we accept, but we cannot increase the amount of time that we have in a day. And so I still want us to be able to provide that one-on-one or two-on-one small group instruction, which is one of the greatest benefits of micro school.
Right, right. I love that. And then I think that commitment to being intentionally small, highly personalized is such a key characteristic of so many micro school founders that is what, and many of them like you, a former public school teacher who recognize that that's sort of the special sauce that makes learning so meaningful and have such a huge impact on young people's lives is just that ability to tailor curriculum to each child's needs and talents and skills. So, great insights. So, Ar'Jillian, if my listeners and viewers want to learn more about Gilmer's learning solutions, follow your progress as you continue to grow over the coming years and connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
The best way to connect with us would be through our website, www.gilmerslearningsolutions.com. We are active on social media under the handle Gilmer's Learning Solutions, whether it's Facebook or Instagram. I will say sometimes we get engrossed in the teaching and learning, and posting is secondary. The priority is always that teaching and learning. So if you follow us on socials and you don't see something for 2 or 3 days, just know that means we're working. And the social aspect, you'll see a dump in a few days. But those are the ways that you can contact us. My email is actually the easiest email would be cmgls@gilmerslearningsolutions.com. I have a long first name. So
Amazing. Well, I know that I'm looking forward to keeping in touch and seeing again the kind of growing impact that you're having in Little Rock and in inspiring more education entrepreneurs across the country. So, Ar'Jillian Gilmer, thank you so much for being on the Liberated podcast.
thank you for having me.